Havana on the Hudson Cigars, located on 1907 Willow Avenue, Weehawken, New Jersey. A fine, tobacconist, spacious cigar shop lounge with walk-in humidor, comfortable seating area, Wi-Fi, and large TVs. Havana on the Hudson Cigars. Make our place your place.
Music producer, music artist, music engineer, graphic designer, video director, Union City's own. God damn it. Wait a second. He now has a podcast show?
Oh my God. Shut the front door. What?
Now, direct from the Room Label Studios in Union City, New Jersey, it's your host, Famine, on the Tony Central Podcast.
Let's go! Let's go!
Ladies and gentlemen, you're now tuned into the Tony Central Podcast with your host, Famine. And today, I got my special guest in the building, Ideology. What's up, bro?
What's going on, everybody?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm glad we're doing this right now.
Before I even start with anything, I definitely want to say thank you for taking your time out from your busy schedule to do this episode with me.
Of course. Say no more, man. As soon as you tell me about it.
Where you go by now? Ideology, teacher, professor?
So when I was in a hip-hop group, Actual Facts, my name was Ideology, which is I was the producer and stuff like that of the group.
Yeah.
And I kind of kept that. But in a professional setting, I still use my first name, and I use Ideology as my middle name. So people know me as Wilkis Ideology Figuereo. But it's still Ideology when it comes to the music and stuff like that. But, people call me, some students call me Yoda.
Yeah.
There's different names.
So students actually call you Ideology?
Yeah, I let students call me Ideology. Some, the younger kids call me Mr. F, but they always say Ideology.
That sounds kind of crazy, Mr. F.
Yeah, like I'm an old man, but Ideology is something that I always emphasize because that's the foundation of everything that I'm doing.
Now, how you got that name as Ideology?
Believe it or not, I did a song because I was unsure what my name was.
Yeah.
What my name was going to be, my artist name.
Uh-huh.
And I did a song, and there was a part of the song where I was like, my partner's name was Freedom. And I said Freedom and Ideology. And I kind of named myself in that song. And my boy was like, man, it sounds kind of good how both of those words sound good together. And that's where Ideology comes from. And people always said I always come up with a lot of ideas. So Ideology is the study of political ideas. So that was like the concept behind.
So you didn't have no name before that?
Nah, before that, people used to call me, you don't even want to know, but Resurrector. But the RZA was the producer that had that. I kind of couldn't use that.
Yeah.
So I went with, Ideology was like the first time. For a long time, I didn't really have like a name that I wanted to use as a producer, but that was like the name that stuck. And I kind of built it from there.
Now, we in 2017, and we definitely know each other for a long time.
That's right.
I would say we probably met either 2000 or 2001. I'm not sure if I already released Behind the Boards.
It was 2000 that we met.
Okay, cool.
It was.
And I remember Inf brought you around.
That's right.
And shout out to Inf. And the way I met you is you were part of a group.
I was, yes.
And what was the name of the group?
I was part of this group called Actual Facts.
And it was you and another member?
It was me and my man Diamond Muhammad.
Okay.
He's a minister now.
Oh, word?
Yeah, he's in the Nation of Islam.
Oh.
And it was me and him. We were in a group, Actual Facts, and I was doing some mentoring at the high school and actually met Infinite. He was one of the students that I was working in the mentoring program, and I was mentoring teenagers and stuff like that. Me and him are around the same age. Uh-huh. And I met him, and I didn't know he was like that ill on the mic.
Yeah.
And then he let me hear some of the stuff that he was doing. I was like, wow, this guy's phenomenal. Uh-huh. And during that time period, I was already recording. I was going to the studio in Hoboken. Shout out to Ross Shepard. He was like one of my high school teachers, and I was recording in his studio. Uh-huh. And what happened was, back in the days, you go to a studio, you're paying $40 an hour back in 1999. That's a lot of money. Yeah. So, when you're working and you're in college and stuff like that, to save up to buy equipment was very difficult. So I was having a conversation with Inf, because I was listening to some of the records that he was recording. I was like, man, that sounds better than some of the stuff I've been recording. Yeah. And I've been going to the studio. It's like, that sounds quality. Where are you recording? He's like, I'm recording in my boy's Famine Studio. He's the producer, you know.
Word.
And I'm like, man, what are you guys using? Like, you guys using ADATs? Because that's what I was using in the studio. He's like, nah, we're using this machine. He didn't really know how to explain it to me. So I was like, man, I need to get that machine. I need to be able to record myself. So he was like, look, I'm going to invite you so you can come check out the stuff. And
Studio.
I'm like,
Infamous Studio.
Infamous Studio. So like I was saying, so he's telling me about you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know, Famine is a grown man because I'm recording with somebody who's way older than me at the time, you know, Rod Shepard.
Yeah.
So when I go, we're in Unit City and we go, and I guess you was living with your mother.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy's, he's younger than me. He's a teenager.
I was 16.
Yeah. So I'm like, wow. And then I was watching you guys work. You had the MPC set up. You had the events, the small event monitors, right? And I didn't have any of that stuff. And I always remember that because that was the moment. And I was like, man, I can do this. You understand what I'm saying? I was like, I can actually. Never wanted to be a recording engineer. I would just do music, rapping, and making beats. Yeah. And from that perspective, I wanted to get the board. And then a couple of months later, I remember I was saving up for a while to get this board. I was hanging out with my oldest brother. And my oldest brother, he was like a hustler. He used to buy cars and flip them. Yeah. So I was with him looking at a car somewhere. And he was short $500. Okay. And he was like, do you have this $500? I'm like, I got $500 because I'm trying to buy this board. Yeah. The board was $700. I'm like, I'm almost there.
And that was a lot of money that time.
Yeah, it was a lot of money. So I'm like, I've been saving up. And he was like, look, lend me the $500 and we'll go get the board. So I lend him the $500. So look, if you don't give me my money back, it's going to be problems. So we ended up going, after that, we went to New York City, Sam Ash in Manhattan. Yeah. And we saw the board and he put it on his credit card. Dope. So he charged it on his credit card, $700. I only really ended up paying $500 because I gave him $500. Yeah. He charged it for $700. So that's how I got the board. I kind of saved money by letting him use the money so he could flip the car.
And just in case people don't understand what we're talking about the infamous Roland VS 840.
That's right.
That it was 8 tracks.
It was actually 4 tracks. It was 6 tracks, 4 mono, and 2 stereo.
The crazy part about it is I used that machine for over, I would say, let me see, from 99 or 2000 to like 05. That's when I started.
Me too.
To Pro Tools. Mm-hmm. And you know what? And to this day, I never recorded the right way. Like I used to bounce my beats from MPC mono. Like I didn't know the difference between mono and stereo.
Sure. Okay.
And it's crazy because that's why like the other day you posted a video on Facebook that you were talking about when we met and stuff like that. And I always been big in quality. Like it's always been special to me. You know, I always try to tell people like that's very special on people, and some people will never understand why. You know, and when I got that machine, it opened doors for a lot of people from Union City, Northburg, and from the Hudson area that you don't have to have $1 million studio to make $1 million record.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like one of my biggest records that hit on La Megas came from that.
I remember that.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I try to always tell people, and you know what I mean, like when you did that video on Facebook, I was actually mad that I wasn't on the chat while you were doing it. Like when you tagged me out, I was like, let me see this. And I was like, wow. And it brought me a flashback of that moment. And I think and what's so special about that is just that I think years could pass on, and we will always just talk about the Roland 840. You know what I mean? Like everybody out there always have a special machine that they always go back to. Yeah. Like P Rock, he always mentions the SP 1200. Yes, I think it's the Roland VS 840 did it. You know what I mean? And what I think about it, these kids in today's world don't understand what we had to go through back in the days to get quality.
The limitations were insane. Yeah. You know, and you're talking about not recording correctly and not understanding how to record. You know, when you look at those things, the limitations. You know, I was talking about this in a video that I did last week. You know, you had the way that I did it. I was doing everything with my sampler and digital performer. So I would run a stereo output and record the track into the Roland stereo on channel 7 and 8.
And you're talking about the instrumental?
Yeah, the instrumental edited, all the MIDI edited. I didn't mix it. I just did the beat the way that I thought it should sound. I didn't really use plugins. That didn't exist. You know this. And then we will use the main mono tracks, track 1 will be the lead vocal, track 2 will be the ad-libs, and the same thing, 3 and 4, and then we would do the chorus on 5 and 6, stereo chorus.
But you still have to record on 1 and 2 to bounce it to 5 and 6, isn't it like that? Because that's how I used to do it.
You used to do it inside of it because I had virtual tracks, but I never did that. I just used whatever tracks I had because I was like,
And it's crazy because back in the days, we were, especially me, I would try to fight with the artist to not record so many vocals.
Oh,
you know what I
okay.
mean?
Yeah.
Like now you could record a lot of vocals. Now I used to be like, delete it. No, I don't need this. Forget about it. Just cause when it came to the mix down, it was just so much of a problem. You know what I mean? And at that time, the way I used to do it, it was so crazy. I would have an external CD recorder, and when somebody would come to my house and be like, listen, I need the record. I didn't know there was such thing as mixing and mastering. So for me, it was just press play while I'm burning it to the CD recorder. I will mess with the volumes there.
You was doing a live mix.
Yeah. So what's crazy about it is there's records out there that I threw that you could hear it and you might hear 10 different versions of the same record, because when I record it to the CD recorder, I'll stop the beat in one part and drop it in another part, and people would be like, yo, but it's not the same, you know what I mean?
I remember the punch-ins. You had a punch-in?
Yeah.
There's a record that you guys did that Infinite was rapping on it. The one with Just the Law.
Okay, the 24.1,
yeah. From Jedi. And there's a section in that song, I still listen to it, where he hits the mic stand.
Yeah.
Right at the end. So it wasn't like, hey man, you had to like really get it straight. You can do punch-ins in that machine. You had to do them quickly.
Yeah.
But
I think that what messes up the punching is because, first of all, we didn't have a booth.
That's right.
It was in my mom's bedroom, and it's just plus the mics and all that. It's nothing like now. Like back in the days, it was such of, if you wanted to use plugins, you had to have like actual machines for reverb and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like now, everything is just plugins inside a program, and you know what I mean?
That was another thing, because I had an external reverb that I used, like the Lexicon MPX 100.
Okay.
And Infinite was like, you don't need that because inside the board there are effects. Remember that?
Yeah.
And it had like these chains.
We used to have one that's the only one I use.
The setting with the delay and all that.
The echoes and everything.
Yeah. So that board was like the foundation because it allowed me to save money. And it created an opportunity for me to make money. That was the biggest thing for me because I was living on campus during that time. I was going to college.
Which college you went to?
I went to Ramapo College.
And that's the one you graduated?
I graduated from there, yeah. Okay. So I had like my studio set up, on campus, and then, there was a lot of guys up there that wanted to come to the studio and play around. Yeah. But I was always business, so I would say, look, man, I'll record your song. You got music you want to do? I'll charge you $60 a song to come in and record. Yeah. Like, you can take as long as you want. But my goal was to finish the song in a half hour.
Yeah.
If I can get the song done in a half hour, $60, that was good money in my pocket. So I would do, songs like that. And I would record 4 or 5 songs a week. And that's really how I became, like a quote-unquote engineer. But I made a lot of mistakes along the way in the process of recording. There was recordings that were distorted. Yeah. And, I remember I did a recording. As a matter of fact, Infinite was on the song. It's a song called One Common Cause. It was me, Infinite, and my partner. We did this amazing song. It sounded good.
That was for you guys project,
yeah,
right?
for our project.
I heard it.
And then it was like distorted near the end. Infinite, you know how Infinite gets amped.
Actually, before you continue, is that the one that the artwork was black and white?
I don't think we released that record. The one that you're thinking about is the Gate to New Jerusalem.
Because you guys did do it.
It's me and him. It's me and him rapping on it, me and Inf. And there's another song where it's all 3 of us rapping on it, called One Common Cause. That's the reason why I asked you to let me borrow that board. Because I found the discs for it. Because he keeps asking me for the song. And I'm like, it's distorted. You can't release that. Yeah. But I wanted to hear it. But I couldn't find it because I need to update that. I had the GX, which is the model right after that, the one that you had. Okay. So I don't know how to update the software and that thing, anymore because I don't have a zip disk on my computer. But that's, I made a lot of mistakes recording, and somebody was telling me, I was like, man, how can I control the process of recording? They were like, hey, you need to buy a compressor. I didn't know what a compressor was. Yeah. So I went and I bought a compressor. I saved up some money, went and got a cheap compressor, and then that's how I learned how to use the gate on a compressor. Yeah. And, those different experiences are really what taught me, like, my foundation to what I know now. Yeah. And then when the plugin came around 2005, 2006, when I was able to get the inbox. Once I got the inbox, that's when I actually got rid of the. I still had the board, but I needed like a bigger audio interface. So I bought a Digi-002, and then I sold my inbox and my board. I sold it to the same guy. He bought both. He bought the inbox and the board. You know.
Now, is Pro Tools in 2005? That was your first digital recording, or you had different software?
I was always using a computer to make beats. Mm-hmm. I was used for sequencing. I was using Digital Performer, but I was using the Akai S2000 as my sound module. So I would make all my sounds on floppies and then sequence them inside the computer. I would use the free version of Pro Tools to go out, because the free version of Pro Tools back then only gave you 2 tracks. So I would go out of the board into my computer via 1/8" connector, headphone connector, and record the final mix of the board of the song into the computer, and then burn it on a CD burner. I had a huge CD burner, and that's how I made my CDs. I used Pro Tools strictly for printing and just burning the quote-unquote song and stuff like that to a CD. That's usually how I did it. I started using Pro Tools around, I'm gonna say 2005, 2006. That's when I started using Pro Tools for the first time. I would say version 6 was the first version of Pro Tools that I actually worked on.
Yeah.
And what I did was I gave myself a project where I was taking all the songs out of the board and putting them into Pro Tools, so I can understand how to use it. And so one of my regrets from recording on the board is that a lot of the stuff was recorded with effects.
Oh yeah.
So when you put it into Pro Tools,
it's already with effects.
It's already in there. So, so it was interesting. But that's how I printed everything, like that. And then once I learned how to use Pro Tools, I felt like, man, this is real powerful. And then when the inbox systems came out and you have Pro Tools LE, that changed the game for everybody.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now, before we continue, you definitely were born in here or in DR?
No, I was born in Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic. You can't erase that.
I came in 1990, man.
1990.
I came here.
And where were you most of the years where you did them at?
When I came to this country, I lived in the Poconos for 1 year.
Pocono?
In the Poconos.
I never heard somebody from DR go straight to the Pocono.
That's what for me, I just wanted to see snow. So I went straight to DR. My entire family used to live in the Poconos, and then they all migrated to Jersey City. Okay. So then I moved to Jersey City. So I grew up, my teenage years, I was in Jersey City. Okay. And then I hated going to school. And
what school you went to?
I went to PS40 in Jersey City for my elementary school.
Oh, okay.
And then when I was in 8th grade, they put me in this special program where I would do my academics during the day, and they would send me to the vocational school to learn like air conditioning, refrigeration, like stuff like that. And so what happened was they were starting like some program, and they asked if I wanted to put an application in. So I applied for this program. I was supposed to go to Snyder High School in Jersey City. I ended up going to this program called Vista, it was at that vocational school in North Bergen. Okay. And for me, that kind of saved my life, because I'm still connected with that school district. I teach in that school district. Okay. From that little decision of me going to school there, it kind of, I even met you because of that, because I met Infinite by going back to that school. And really from there, that's where everything changed. And I didn't really want to do music. When I was like in 8th grade, my stepfather used to be in a merengue band. Okay. So that when I look back, that's like my introduction into music. Yeah. So in order for me to get into the clubs, right, I had to carry the equipment in and help set up the equipment. I was like the band boy. I used to get like $50 a night to be, in these clubs, setting up the mics and breaking all the wires down. But I didn't want to do that. By my last year in high school, my senior year, a friend of mine told me he took this class the year before, and he introduced me to this guy called John Seaput. Okay, he was like my first music teacher, and he was like, "Hey, you want to join the class? You can join the class." And so I joined the class my senior year, and just as a throwaway class. It wasn't like, "Yo, I want to make beats." I used to always freestyle and mess around, as part of growing up in the '90s. And then I realized that I had like an ear for making music. Yeah. But you know better than anybody else, if you wanted to make beats during that time, you needed money. Yeah. There's no way that your stuff can sound decent unless you had like a synthesizer or like a big drum machine that cost you at least $2,000.
Yeah. And piano's better, like synthesizer, the infamous Triton.
The Triton.
Like if you had a Triton.
I wanted a Trinity, and I could never afford the Trinity. I ended up getting a Triton.
and to this day I still don't gotta try it. But my first keyboard was a Casio.
The Casio.
Casio, yeah.
Yeah.
Which was, but that's what I started with everything. And I remember doing beats on the Casio, and I met Malik, which he was doing beats, and he told me like, yo, you gotta get an MPC because this is a machine that because I used to tell him like, yo, your beats sound real, you know what I mean? He didn't understand what I meant by that. I was like, I don't know, it just sounds real. So when I went to Guitar Center, I remember they had the MPC 2000, which to this day I still have.
Wow.
They had it in the glass, and they had pictures of Timbaland, they had Havoc, RZA, they had all the things.
All the producers.
Yeah, so I was like, that's the machine I need. I need that. But it was $1,400.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Plus, I paid an extra $200, which it came out to $1,600, so I could sample more than 30 minutes.
For additional RAM.
Yeah, because the regular was just like 15 seconds or something. So back in the days, and going back to what we were saying before about these kids don't understand what we went through, with an MPC and a little screen, it was just numbers you were seeing. You hardly saw wave files, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like now you get to see the
use your
wave
ears.
on the monitors, and you could cut, and you could even see when you messed up. Like you could see the wave up, if higher or lower, you know what
That's
I'm saying?
right, yeah.
So that's why I try to tell people, like, people go crazy nowadays when you want to buy equipment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what's a crazy part is, I remember I was in the studio in 2005 with Romeo from Mamandura.
Okay.
And they had an $1 million studio. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. He still records with a reverb from a machine. Like if it's not that, he won't be on a record.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And it's just to show you, like, everybody has a different ear for sound and engineer and people. What I would love for the kids to know is that you have to be willing to spend money if you want your work to be.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Because
You gotta invest.
it has to be presentable. Especially with so much music coming out now, these kids will not know. You know what I mean? Like they just think it's just, I can rap.
I'm gonna tell you a story, man. This is a true story that happened to me. This is, the reason I wanted to start pursuing music like seriously, and I was like, this is what I want to do. My sister used to do a lot of music videos, so she did. She was like in Big Pun, It's So Hard video.
Oh.
She did the OGC video, and I spoke to Drew Ha from Duck Down Records on the phone, right?
Nice.
And he's like, bring me a demo, right? So that was like my motivation. I need to do the demo for Drew Ha, right? And what happened? I started investing in buying equipment, and I came back for the summer. Home from college, and I was one of those teenagers who, waited to the last minute. I waited till my laundry was all the way to the top to go do my laundry. Yeah. So I went to do my laundry, at a laundromat in Jersey City, and the laundromat closed at 11 o'clock. So it's around 9 o'clock. I put my clothes in there, the drying or whatever. I said, let me go to BK to grab something to eat real quick. When I came back, the laundromat was closed. So I'm like, they closed an hour early. So I had to come back the next day. When I came back, my clothes were gone.
Oh, wow.
All my clothes. There was a couple of pants, sweatpants, and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm not gonna let that stop me from buying my equipment. So if you see a lot of pictures of me when I was in college, I always got sweatpants on, okay? Because I didn't have any clothes. I was like, I don't care about clothes. I don't care about girls. I need to buy my equipment because this is what I'm trying to do and how I have to move forward.
That's dope. Now, you growing up, what is it that motivated you as far as in hip hop? And what I mean by that, because us being Spanish, and I even be Spanish, being Dominican.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I had the problem in my household, and my mom would always complain that why I was always playing hip hop music and not merengue, bachata. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I used to be heavy into Wu-Tang. That's all I play in my. You know what I mean? So it's like, what made you say, yo, this is the music I like, and if I do music, this is the music I want to do?
I think that we're a product of just growing up in the '90s. That's a big part of just that evolution. One of the albums that I guess one of my favorite artists that I listened to that I really liked when I was growing up was Snoop.
Nice.
And I remember I used to write rhymes because I used to listen to Snoop and Dr. Dre all the time. And my friends in high school used to make fun of me. They're like, man, you're not from the West Coast? Because I was using the slang that they were using. And I was like, man, I need to get rid of the slang because they were like making fun of me.
You get used to it.
So I went to the store and I bought the Mobb Deep Infamous album. Wow. Okay? That album changed my life. Now, mind you, I didn't even want to be a producer during this time, but I used to listen to that, the music, the samples on that. And so naturally, I had my boombox like everybody else, and I used to like to have my tapes and play music, record the Stretch and Bobbito show like everybody else. So I was a fan of hip-hop music just naturally because I felt like it was talking to me during that time period. Once I started making music like everybody else, you know, I felt like having a message, like a positive message in the music was very important. So I remember the Black Star album was one of the albums that inspired me as an MC and writer. And my motivation was just really, for me, selfish as an artist. I just wanted to do hip-hop music from that perspective. I guess they used to call it conscious hip-hop in the early, late 90s, early 2000s. So that was like the motivation. And I met this guy on campus who I didn't even know he rapped. I used to know him. And one night we were walking to the cafeteria and everybody was freestyling, playing around. Yeah. And I heard this dude rap, and he was incredible, bro. It's like somebody who you think he's a nerdy guy, he's not a rapper. And this dude was like incredible. So later on that year, we had like a little freestyle battle on the radio station or whatever. And he hit me with a written verse. This crazy verse. I'm like, yo, he's spitting it's not I could say, I was like, he just spitting written. Yeah. But from there, that's where the motivation came. As I kept moving in music, I realized, and I love this guy to death, I realized that really it was my dream. It was something that he was doing, but it really wasn't his dream to pursue music. And I wanted to find other ways to still pursue it. You know, if I was not going to be an artist or do music, I still want to be able to sharpen my skills, learn as much as I can about it. And it got to the point where, you know, they asked me when I was, you know, volunteering and mentoring at the school, they say, hey man, do you want to start a music program here? And but hip hop was like my original source of material that I could reference easier, and that music that was easy for me to understand how it was put together. You know, like hip hop music is very repetitive. Yeah. There's a loop, you know, like, you know, you take this piece, you
and now more than ever.
You know? Yeah. So it was easy for me to kind of listen to it, understand it, rather than like, even though I love Spanish music and I listen to merengue and all that classic stuff, but I've never was driven to like, to make Spanish music. I was never driven to create that kind of music. I used to write like Spanish lines in my raps and stuff like that. That was natural, but hip-hop music was just the music the 90s music that we grew up on. If you grew up in Jersey City, any urban area, there's no way that you can avoid that music. No. So I was naturally gravitated towards that, and that's really what, as a producer, that's really what drove me. And really understanding, and the Mobb Deep album, that album kind of just opened me up to, you know, like that 90s Queens sound, the really snare with a lot of reverb. You know, you remember that?
Queens had the music on lock for a while.
Yeah, so that sound was like my favorite sound, and my favorite producer was DJ Premier.
DJ Premier.
DJ Premier was yours was probably the RZA. You like the RZA?
RZA and Havoc.
Okay, I love Havoc. I love Havoc.
Havoc, his bass line is just, it's crazy. Like, I don't know, it was just so like.
But you know, one thing that I learned as I got older was that a lot of joints, Q-Tip was like helping him develop.
Yeah. And on the Infamous album.
Yes, right, on the Infamous album. So Q-Tip was like very responsible for that. And that was a guy who, I didn't know he was a producer, but I went back, after I started producing, I went back to like relearn all of these records, you know, like, so I went back and started listening to Tribe Called Quest more, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's a genius, you know. I was listening to the music, the way he would layer his snares, you know, the drums he would use and stuff like that. And Q-Tip, I would say, you know, definitely influenced by Q-Tip and DJ Premier. Of course, the RZA, there's no way you can escape.
But I always felt like RZA, for some reason, his beats weren't loud. Like in a lot of his production, he liked to hide drums. Like you hear him, but they're not in your face. Like Havoc would do it. You know what I mean? Havoc used that snare.
The reverb snare from Queens. You can't hide it. You know, it's almost like you heard the album that this guy did, Killer Shah, in 2007. Yeah. He captured that Queen sound on that album. The God Walk on Water.
That's the one that he had the song with. No. I'm sorry. That's not. I thought that's the one he had the song with Gaddafi, but Gaddafi had the song with.
Yeah, he had a song with Gaddafi and Trife the God on that. Okay. One hand wash the other.
Yeah.
When I heard that, I was like, that sounds like 90s Queens.
And rest in peace to him, man, because he was a hell of an artist, man.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
just because we're on this topic, and you're a producer yourself. Besides that, when an artist like Drake, and people talk about the ghostwriting, what do you feel about that?
Well,
just because you come from the era of the 90s.
From a perspective of a writer, you know what I'm saying? Somebody who, when I listen to music, I admire the work. Like, you know, when I listen to an artist, I say, man, he's nice. I'm not just looking at what he's saying. I'm like, how long did it take him to come up with that line? So from a writer's perspective, if you're a writer, you know, you're going to say that's not cool.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from music, just music in general, you know, like one of my favorite singers is Whitney Houston.
Yes.
Whitney Houston, she was not a writer.
Okay.
You know, she wasn't a writer, so she had other people that wrote songs. So songwriters are respected. In the hip-hop music, it's always been frowned upon for you to have a writer. Now, if you can have a ghostwriter, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But when you're going around
claiming you're number one.
you know, maybe he's number one in sales. I wouldn't say he's the number one lyricist in the game, personally. But, you know, if you're going to go around saying, it's almost like, you know, when Jay-Z was really hot, you know, and then you find out Jay-Z's like, man, I'm the best. I'm number one. Okay, we get it. I'm the God MC. If somebody would have said, well, Jay-Z didn't write down his lyrics, it kind of would have diminished. You don't respect that penmanship, you know? So Drake is an entertainer to me. He's a singer. I've never really listened to him from that perspective. It's like, man, I need to listen to the great...
Like song by song.
Song by song, like the conceptual ideas that he comes up with. I've never really heard anything that he's written that I've been personally blown away as a lyricist. He has good songs, like, you know, that are on the radio friendly and some witty lines here. He writes a lot of love songs.
Yeah.
It's like a modern day LL Cool J, you know. But you know, I look at a guy like Kendrick for stuff like that. You know, like lyricism, like wow, you know, this dude, he took the time to write a song like this and he did that. Now, do I think he can do that? I think Drake has the talent to do that. I just think that he understands.
Maybe he don't have the time to actually sit down, maybe, and be like,
but you know, even LL Cool J had a lot of songwriters. You know, Dr. Dre always had a lot of songwriters. And another guy, I don't know this for sure, but I would say, you know, Lil Wayne's been accused of having ghostwriters and stuff like that in the past. So I don't think that young people these days care about that. For
they
us,
just want to go with the wave. That's what they use.
Yeah,
now.
I don't think kids really care. Oh, who wrote the song? You know, I don't think people care. If you're a fan of the art, hip hop and lyricism, you're gonna look at it like, man, that's suspect. You know, he didn't write his lyrics. But I don't think that young people, they don't care.
Now, the reason why I asked you this is because I said this in my other interview. I still buy albums.
Sure, me too.
You know what I mean? And physical albums, not iTunes. You know what I mean? Because I love the artwork. I love listening to the album while I'm reading the credits. Who produced it? Who engineered it? You know what I mean? I love it. You know what I mean? And the reason why I say about Drake with the ghostwrite part is because I'm a big fan of Dr. Dre. You know, a lot of his productions, even big hits, they say produced by Dr. Dre, but then they'll say bass line played by this guy, keys played by this guy. So how do you see Dr. Dre when you see this?
That's a good point. I think that a producer, it's a little bit different than a songwriter. So, like, cause I've done this, you know. So as a producer, it's like this. I have an idea for a song, right? And you know, I produce a track, and I'm like, man, this will be amazing. I can hear a live bass line doing this. So you may say, hey, let me bring a musician to come in. Hey, I want you to play this. This is what I'm looking for. And you bring in a musician to play that bass. I don't think that that's somebody producing the record. Now, if somebody just comes in and the track is done and you didn't have no input, you know, as a producer, then I just put my name on it because I have the big name and this is what it is. There's artists and producers in the industry that have done that.
No, definitely.
But I think that if you have the basic idea and then you just bring musicians to add sprinkles and you tell them this is what I want you to play, this is how I want it, but it's based on your idea, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. When somebody comes in and they write the song for you and all you're doing is memorizing the song and stuff like that, you know, if this is a hit record, nobody's going to look at you like it's the wrong way.
A hit record is a hit record.
It's a hit record. But from a lyricist perspective, you know, creative, an artist, you know, because, and you're a rapper too, so you know this, right? We're going to look at it like you don't get no respect for that. is a rapper, but I don't think these guys, there's a big difference between being an artist and being in, in the music business. There's two different things, like being a creative person, somebody wants to be creative and do whatever they want to do. A lot of these guys are just in it this is a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. We all got to make money doing it. But when you look at somebody that you may idolize somebody and say, man, I learned from this guy and blah, 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 blah. I want to be able to know that this is the genius behind that creative work.
I mean, I say this because of the list. People always have, they're always creating these lists, top hot MCs, you know what I mean? They usually don't do it with producers as much as rappers, but I always wanted to bring them to attention. And the reason why I actually wanted to hear your answer, because you're a producer. I could ask this, like, in my last interviews, they were artists, so they would just give me what they see from perspective. But you're actually a producer, and I know there's a lot of records that people put inputs. Like you say, people like live bass lines. Sometimes I don't know how to play the piano. I know what piano sounds good, what sound, but I don't know how to play a piano. That if you put this old record and say I want to replay it, I can't do it for you. You know what I mean? There's people that could be like, yo, they know how to. That's all they could do.
You can hire a session musician to come in and play on it. People do that all the time. So you're competing with that. So a guy like Dr. Dre has the resources.
But should Dr. Dre get credit as top 3 producers of all time because of this?
Well, you're looking at it. You're talking about a beat maker or a producer?
Well, I'm saying producer because the same thing is when people say Drake, or Jay, or I mean, I'm not too much Jay because
who's the number one on that list?
As far as what?
A producer.
The reason why I say Dr. Dre is because he's always on a list. You know what I mean? Like old times. Honestly,
Dr. Dre has been the most successful producer. You got to look at guys like Timbaland. Timbaland's a great producer, but Timbaland never really came to this lane. Like he never really made hard hip hop. His stuff was always pop. But the dude he's dope. But he's worked with artists. Scar Storch played on a lot of his records, and Dr. Dre as well.
And Danger did a lot of stuff with Timbaland too.
Exactly. So
Neptunes. Pharrell's a monster.
That's
man.
right. All those guys are talented, but when you have a well-oiled machine, and one of the things that I always say is like, give credit to people coming up. That's one of the things when I do business. If somebody's gonna do something, I like to give them credit because you want that person to be recognized.
Of course.
But there's some people who like to hold people back. They're like, oh, I did all this. No, you didn't. This guy did all the work. And RZA has done some of that. He had other producers under him. So if you have a team around you that can put an input, but it's your vision, that's what makes a great producer. Look at somebody like Diddy. Diddy is like, he's a great producer.
Yeah.
He's not in the studio making the music, but he's able to bring ideas together.
He knows how to put records together.
Even DJ Khaled is another one that's a great producer. That record that he did with Nas and Scarface, where he was like, I'm gonna get DJ Premier to scratch on this record. Come on, that's for you to even think that I can hear Premier on this. You have a good ear. You understand how to put a record together. And if you're paying for everything, you're technically the producer. You're the executive producer. You're funding the project.
That's what's up, man.
Havana on the Hudson Cigars, located on 1907 Willow Avenue, Weehawken, New Jersey. A fine, tobacconist, spacious cigar shop lounge with walk-in humidor, comfortable seating area, Wi-Fi, and large TVs. Havana on the Hudson Cigars. Make our place your place.
We're back on Tony Central Podcast with Union City's own Famine.
Now, you growing up, a kid from Jersey City?
Jersey City. Jersey City.
What part of Jersey City?
I used to live on Ocean Avenue between Neptune and Whitfield. And later on, we ended up moving to Bayonne after that, which is right next to Jersey City. But that was like my neighborhood.
Was Ocean Avenue still crazy as the way it is now?
Yeah, man.
At that time?
I loved it. I loved it, but at the same time, man, It was crazy, man. And when I think about it, it's like, you know, when you're growing up in that environment around other young kids and your friends, that's your neighborhood.
It doesn't really seem as big, as crazy as people see it from outside.
You see other people that are in the corner doing things. You know, you got the hustlers in the corners, and you know, when you think about it, those guys were teenagers, and they were out there doing their thing. So you can easily get caught up and stuff like that. You know, it's funny, you see people from that neighborhood that kind of made it out of there, and you're like, wow. You know, you look back at it and you're like, man, you could have easily been, you know,
either in jail or dead.
Yeah.
I mean, me growing up in Central Avenue too, it was when people from the outside used to see Central like it was bad, from 24th Street to 26th Street.
Yeah.
You know, and I used to see it like it's nothing. You know what I mean? I lived there over almost 28 years of my life, I think. You know, so, but definitely you growing up, you going to high school, you going to college, you becoming an artist, you were in part of a group, started producing. Well, you started producing at the same time as being an artist, or first you was an artist?
My last year of high school, I started making beats. And then when I went to college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was a basketball player. Okay. So I went to college to play ball. You know, that was the thing. And then when I was there, I was like, man, I'm going to end up. I took my spring break money and bought my first piece of equipment. Okay. And everybody thought I was crazy. I bought my sampler, the Kai's 2000. I always tell everybody. And then I was like, I held auditions. I was like, I'm going to put a group together because I was doing a demo for Drew Ha. Mm-hmm. And then that's where it started. And then I went back to the high school and I saw the new guy who took over, Rod Shipper. And I was like, hey, I need to book a session to record. And there was 4 guys originally that was supposed to go to the studio. And not all of them showed up. That's how the group started. And then one of the guys that was in the group, his name is The Capo, dope MC. You know, he felt like his friends were already way ahead of what we were trying to do, so he left the group. So my boy, and I'm gonna be very honest, man, I was whack when I first started. You know, I had a vision. So my partner, you know, he was a good dude. He just stuck it out with me. It's like, I'm gonna build. He got a good energy with this guy. I'm gonna just build with him, and he pushed me to get better. And I ended up getting good, not only as a writer, you know, but as a producer, understanding music, you know, and listening to stuff. He would say, listen to this. And he kind of was educating me on the whole music thing, even though he wasn't a producer, but he was a big hip-hop head, and that's really how I got into it. So I just felt like all the energy I used to put into playing basketball, I put all that same energy into music until I felt like I was like, man, I'm getting good. And I met people, and I met other people in college that were producers. I met this one guy in particular, this guy named Sim Walker, who, you know, I took him to my room when I first bought my piece of equipment. And he saw it, and this dude was like, man, that's nice, bro. I like that. And he was like, I'm gonna come pick you up on Friday to take you to my house. He had a studio. I went to his house, man, the dude got a full setup. So I was like, man, he's mad humble, because he could have been like, man, that's corny, what you have. But he was real humble. He was using an SP1200.
Oh, wow.
And I used to go to his house, and I used to take like tape loops of drums that I used to program in his SP1200, and then I would take those loops and sample them inside the S2000. Because I don't have a sequencer, so I used to just use the keyboard to trigger the sounds, and then when I would go to the studio, I would have to make the beat at the studio based on the sounds that I collected. You know, it was crazy, man. And then I would make the beat in the studio, and then we would record the song. So always something new that would happen at the studio, because the studio has sound modules and all the stuff that I didn't have. So we would make the beat in the studio and then add extra stuff that I didn't even think about, and then we would write the song and record the song. I used to spend like 6-7 hours in the studio, man.
No, when you're doing music, time it just goes. I go in the studio at 9 o'clock at 9, and it's like 4 in the morning. I'm like, damn.
It was hurting my pockets though. I'm like, I can't do this, man.
Now, question is, what made you do the transition to be a teacher into the music?
All right, so when I started that mentoring program in 2000 at Cass Prep, I received an award by the Jersey Journal. They gave me an award of the Everyday Hero Award, and they gave me this award for being a mentor. And you know, Infinite was one of the I don't want to call him a kid, but he was a kid during that time that I was mentoring. And so the city gave me this recognition, and then they asked me if I wanted to start a Cass Prep to have a music program, and they knew that I was doing music, and they're like, do you want to start a music program for the students here? So I was like, I've never taught anything, so I was like, if I'm going to teach, I need to learn as much as I can. Yeah. So I took the manual and went over the manual of that. It was Digital Performer, and learned how to use it so I can teach it. Okay. And that's how I started teaching. And I was like 20 years old, so I had students who were close to my age that were there.
Trying to learn about this stuff.
Trying to learn about production, and I taught it from a hip hop producer's perspective.
Yeah.
That's how I was teaching them how to make beats, and that's really how I started. And as technology kept advancing, I kept learning more and more about different things and stuff like that, just teaching myself. And then it got to the point where I will be, people will bring me to the studio, not necessarily as a producer, but can you show me how to do this?
Okay.
You know, and it got to the point where it was like, you know, people would pay me to go show them how to use the latest technology, you know, produce.
But at that time, you was already on Pro Tools or still just Digital Performer?
I was using Digital Performer, and then I started switching over to Pro Tools. I would say I made my full switch to Pro Tools around 2008. I would say I made my full switch.
Okay.
Like, I was like, this is all I'm using. 2006, I was using it at home, but I wasn't teaching it. I was not teaching Pro Tools. I was teaching Digital Performer, and then I was like, I'm gonna use Logic.
Okay.
Because I needed a program. You know, what I used to do with a lot of programs, I used to give it this 5-minute test. So I would get on it and see if I could make it beat in 5 minutes without knowing anything about the program. And Logic, unfortunately, failed that test many times for me. And then when version 8 came out, I was like, wow. You know, I did it, and I was like, man, this has all the sounds. I don't need my synthesizers anymore. I could just make the beat inside the program, and I will be okay. And I can sample it, and I could do everything I need right inside the program. So around 2008, I kind of started switching from Digital Performer, transitioning into using Logic. And then the school, they wanted me to start to open up a new music wing in another building. And I'm gonna put people on blast on this, but I don't care. So I approached some of the guys, other teachers that were there before me, and I say, look, man, they want me to open up a small wing for music in this building, this other building. And they were like, they're never going to do that because they're not going to duplicate both programs in the same campus, because they had a music program that's been there for a long time. So I looked at it and I was like, it could be that the dude is hating, or it could be that he's right. He's onto something. So one of the things that I did was, I was like, I need to make my program different than what they were doing.
What was their program
It
called?
was audio technology, but they were teaching Digital Performer. That was the program that we were all teaching. And they were teaching, like, you know, keyboard and MIDI sequencing using Digital Performer. They weren't really teaching Pro Tools at that time. So I was like, I'm going to teach Logic. Forget Digital Performer. I'm going to teach Logic. So I need to learn how to use Logic. I need to get certified.
Okay.
So I went to get certified in Logic. It was the first step. And then I built this small room, beautiful. I had a friend come in, do a mural, made it like really hip hop. The superintendent in the school, they loved it. And then the following year, they wanted me to make it bigger. So I was like, I need to learn how to use Pro Tools. So they sent me to.
But when you were using, I'm sorry to cut you off. When you were using Logic, it was for recording purposes, or
I was using
making
Logic.
beats?
I was using Logic for strictly making beats at the time.
Okay.
No, I was still using. I was using Pro Tools at home for recording. Once I got rid of the board, I was using Pro Tools for recording.
Okay.
But I was just using it for the way that I knew how to use it, you know, during that time. And then when I went and got my Pro Tools certification, I went and I trained. I got my Pro Tools certification. I had to fly out to Florida to get my Pro Tools certification. And once I got the certification, I was like, wow, I knew how to use this program, but I didn't even scratch the surface on what I could do inside this program, you know? So from there, I already had a vision. You know, I met a guy when I was training. He was like, what is your goal? I said, my goal is to open up a place where people get this certification. Where people come and get the certification. That's my ultimate goal.
Okay.
And he was like, you're gonna open up a school? I said, yeah. So I had a studio during that time. We were using Pro Tools for recording, and we were using Logic to make beats. Mm-hmm. And then, and what happened was when I ended up moving out of that studio, I was like, the next studio that I open up is gonna be a school, and it's gonna be a place where I could record people. Because I was making my money just from recording clients, doing production. So somebody would come into my studio and say, hey man, I wanna do an EP. So I would do the production, do the recording.
Yeah, like a package.
Like a package deal.
Yeah.
And so when I opened up, I was like, if the school thing doesn't work out, I can always rely on my recording.
Yeah.
That was my goal. So when I came to Itec Audio, I started Itec Audio. I did a video. It's a video on YouTube. I didn't even have the place where I did a video talking about Itec Audio. Right? So I was just like using the law of attraction to make it come. You know, make it come to life. So I did a video promoting the school that did not exist.
That's crazy.
And so what happened was I had clients that I would go teach one-on-one that would pay me to go to their house and show them how to do different things. And then I was like, I need those guys to come to me. I can't be going to everybody. We'll go to Brooklyn, do a session with somebody, engineer here. I was just moving around, you know? And I wanted to consolidate everything that I was doing to one place where people can come and do it. And you know what's crazy about the Itec audio thing? The logo that you see, my Itec audio logo, my first teacher designed that logo.
Oh, wow.
The very first guy, John Seaput. He's in California now.
You still in touch with him?
Yeah, I'm still in touch with him. I was looking for logos and I was putting ideas on Facebook. And the guy sent me an email, bro. I put a tear in my eye when I received this. So he sent me an email and he's like, yo, because I couldn't find a logo that I liked. And he sent me an email. He's like, yo, this is for all the great times that we had. He sent me the logo. When I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I was looking. I didn't touch it. Exactly what you see is the logo that he designed.
Oh, wow.
You know, and he did it, and I was like, it only makes sense. This is the first guy, the first teacher for me to use that, and that's really how I got started. And little by little, man, Infinite was actually my first student here.
Okay.
Infinite was my first student. I taught him how to use Logic because he wanted to be a little bit independent. He was tired of going to studios and recording.
Yeah.
So he came here, and I told him how to use the program so he could record himself. And then from there, it just kept building. And people kept coming back, and you know, I'm going on 7 years over here now.
7 years strong.
Yeah, 7 years
now,
strong.
what year did you get certified completely so you could be able to certify people for Pro Tools and stuff like that?
So I would say I got my Pro Tools certification in 2009. I said I got my Pro Tools certification. I had to go to down to Florida because there was no Pro Tools experts that can test me here. I either had to go to California, but I found somebody in.
There was nothing in New York?
Nah, they have no experts.
That's crazy.
I became the first expert in New Jersey, man. Believe it or not.
Wow, congratulations.
And, yeah, so I had to fly out. I had to fly out to Orlando. And I went out there to Orlando to do my test, and I took my exam, and I got my certification. And then I had to create a partnership because there's no schools in Jersey that do the certification. So I had to do a partnership with the company Avid, which is a company that makes Pro Tools. And I partnered up with them. I was annoying with those guys, but I had a vision what I wanted to do. I said, look, there's no training centers here in New Jersey. A lot of people go to New York City to do this training. I've been teaching for a long time, you know, I have an expertise. And so I started the partnership with them, and you know, it's been going well. Now people come here. I get people that come from other countries. I had a guy who came from Pakistan to come to his Pro Tools certification here, man. I get people that call me. I had a guy who came from Michigan, people from Texas. They come in at different times. And I also, a lot of college professors, they come here for training, which is insane.
Now, when you went to Orlando, was it for Full Sail?
No, I didn't go to Full Sail.
Because there is a music.
There is Full Sail in Florida. I actually took a tour of that school when I went down there, and one of the things that I noticed when I was there, the technology, insane. The technology that they have in that school, it's insane. So I can see why it's very expensive, but I give you one little thing. I was with a friend of mine. We did our training together. We looked in this room, and they have this icon surface. I don't know if you're familiar with the icon, the D command and stuff like that. And I was watching students in that room using it. They don't know how to use it.
Yeah. Is that like a new version of like a SSL board type?
Nah, it's like a digital. It's called a work surface, which works with Pro Tools. And what happens is it gives you the ability to do things that you can't do in the software by itself. One simple thing that you could do with it is lower 4 faders while panning. You can't do that with the mouse. You understand what I'm saying? So it adds like extra functionality to the software. It looks like a big mixer. You've seen it in studios, but there's no sound that goes through it. Just a big controller for the software. So when I was in Florida, I got a certification in that too, in that work surface. And because I wanted to train people, but they don't make that work surface anymore. But when I went to the studio, mind you, I'm fresh of getting the certification. So I'm like, let me see how these kids using this thing. They didn't know how to use it. Just me watching them. And so one thing I always tell people when they ask me, what do you think about Full Sail? I said, look, it's a beautiful campus. They got great technology over there. I can't comment on the educational process. I don't know how teachers deliver their content over there. I could tell you that you're never going to see equipment like that in any school around here. Yeah. It's just insane. That's why it's so expensive. Now, one of the things that young people that want to go to school, want to pursue a career in this, you know this better than anybody else. It's hard to learn the stuff on your own. Yeah, so definitely. If you can find somebody that's going to mentor you and teach you,
I know what they're doing.
that know what they're doing. Because a lot of people out there, they be like, oh, you go on YouTube. It's a lot of bad information on YouTube, okay? Invest in learning.
Yeah.
And you have to know what it is that you want to do, And there's a lot of people who, they don't know necessarily, they know what they want to do, but they don't know how to turn what they're doing into a way where they can generate income. In this business, there's multiple things that are going to work for you. One day it's going to be, making beats. Okay, that's cool, but everybody's giving away their beats for free.
Yeah.
So how do we make money now selling beats? You can't really do that because you have kids who make beats and put it on the internet for free. So nobody's going to pay you or me for that, right? So people are going to want to work with you as an artist. They're going to say, hey, I'm going to go to Famine Studio because every time I go there, and I remember Jaden's, Justin? He always used to tell me this is the best songs that I ever recorded was when I worked with Famine.
Oh, word.
You feel me? So he was one of my students too. So people are going to work with you because what you bring to the table, your experience, how you tell them, hey, you do the song like this. So you're going to get people that are going to come from you from that perspective. But you got to figure out what's working at that time. And that's one of the things that a lot of young people don't have the patience. They can't figure out how to turn their talents to money. Yeah. That's the biggest thing.
Now, you said this is 7 years already going to the school. And how do you choose, because I follow you on Facebook and Instagram, and how do you choose of your next semester what you're going to teach about?
Okay, that's a very good question. So the first time, when I first started here, I was strictly doing production when I first opened up. Before I was doing the Pro Tools partnership, I was open. I was teaching people just how to produce and do things like that. And then what was happening was I would do the class, and then people would leave. It's like, okay, I just got this production class. How do I get my students to come back? Because students will come back and be like, hey man, I want to know how to do this. So they'll book time for me to show them how to do this, how to do that. So I was like, I need to start designing a curriculum where those students who come in through the program, they have like a process that they're gonna go through. And me being an educator and teaching, I do this for a whole year when I teach at the high school level and stuff like that as a vocation, because I'm a vocational instructor. I have a certification as a vocational instructor. So my classes here are ongoing all year round. So my classes rotate. They're like 5 to 6 weeks. Somebody will come in, let's say, hey, I want to learn fundamentals of music production. So that's the Logic class. Somebody comes in, that class is about 5 weeks. So, we meet, we go through that process. You want to continue, you go to the next advanced techniques in production, and then I start teaching you about how to automate things inside of the software and stuff like that, how to edit patches, design your own sounds within Logic, And then from there, people want to learn, some people wanted to learn music theory. I realized that a lot of producers don't have a strong music foundation, okay? That's one of the things that I realized. I was like, man, I understand music. I went to school for music. I got a music degree. But there's a lot of producers who don't know how to play chords or don't know how to play notes. So I called, one of my former teachers, the guy who I used to record with, Rod Shepard, Santi Music Studios in Hoboken, and he does a class here. So he comes in and teaches Introduction to Music Theory, So he comes in and shows, how to begin in keyboard techniques, how to read notes, and stuff like that. So that class in conjunction with the production class, they complement each other very well. So classes are ongoing all year round, non-stop. So usually that's how it is. I'm just continuously, there's classes ongoing all the time. It's not like a college where it's like a full semester, you're gonna be here for 4 or 5 months. Every 5 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks, we have like a new class that starts.
And you do this at your location, which is here?
I do it here, yes, in Clifton, New Jersey.
Okay, and people can sign up through the internet, or they have to actually come over here?
They can, if anybody wants to register online, they can go to my website, www.itecaudio.com. They can register there directly. You have individuals who, who can't pay up front. So we do like payment plans with them, and we do financing with them. So usually I'll meet, especially young people that, are coming out of high school and they're not sure what they want to do. I like to meet with them and try to find out what their goals are. And then I'll give them advice. I'll say, look, this program here may be better for you somewhere else. This is what we do here, and this is how we can help you. If not, you can go somewhere else. Somebody comes in and says, man, I want to be a film composer. you know, this is not what we do here. You know, even though we have a class that can help you in that, but you need to go to a school for composition. If you want to be a film composer, you need to learn music theory and blah, 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 blah. If you want to learn how to use the tools, get your Pro Tools certification, learn mixing and mastering, training, you know, it's going to help you if you want to work in a studio and stuff like that. This is the place for you to come.
That's dope, man. 7 years strong. Do you have another vision to do something, or are you satisfied where you at with the teaching?
You can never be happy, 100% happy with what you're doing. My goal is, I've been itching right now. I've been working with artists and stuff like that. That's always been one of the things that I do. I do artist development and a lot of production. But my goal is really in the future is hopefully, you know, if everything goes well, is turning this to a bigger school. You know, that's one of the things that I want to do, and I want to expand. That's the dream. You know, the dream is to be able to, you know, to expand, maybe become some type of community college in the future. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's the ultimate goal, and be able to expand to maybe a different location in a different state. That's my vision for what I want to do. Like I said, I've been building the brand myself, you know, based on my experience and my relationships, you know, doing business the right way. And but I always wanted to, like anything else, I'm still a producer, I'm still a creator. So that's never going to stop. So I'm always creating and working on albums. One of the things that I told you about that we should do the Ideology Famine album. Okay, I told you this a couple years ago. You know, just something to put out. You know, like for.
But instrumentals or?
Nah, for like we do like a.
I do beats and you rap.
Nah, we both do beats. It's almost, I don't want to call it a mixtape, but like an album.
Yeah.
So, where we do half and half of the album, and there's artists on the songs.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
So like a compilation.
Like a compilation album.
We could do that.
You know, like, you understand what I'm saying? And then we showcase, you know, the artists that we think are dope, that will do songs on our tracks.
Word.
So it's like an album that compiles of both of our production and stuff like that.
That's dope. And actually, I got this picture that if I show you this picture, you're gonna probably be like, you know what? I think we should use that picture for the cover of a project.
Let me see.
Oh man, hold on. This is gonna be dope. It's gonna blow your mind out too, cause the picture looks so ill. Come on, download, goddammit.
Wow, get out of here.
Yeah.
DSA 40, baby.
So I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna save that. So
yeah.
If it happens, I will only use it for that. But this is dope, man. I actually met. I got kids, grown-ups that I met that you taught them, man. And it's insane just me hearing them like, yeah, that's my teacher. I was like, but that's my people. I know him, you know what I mean? Jay Dance is one of them.
Jay Dance was one of the kids that I call him a kid. He's a grown man, but I had him in high school, and he was like a screamer rocker guy. And I'm
amazing voice.
I'm like, look, man, you can make. He was in a band with a whole bunch of disgruntled kids. Yeah. You know, like, you know, they all wanted to do their own thing. They had their own vision. I'm like, look, the band is cool, but you got to learn how to do this just in case you don't work with this guy. So he started making beats and stuff like that. So I was very proud of him when, you know, for his success. He's still working and stuff like that because, you know, I felt like I molded that, you know, like, like, hey, man, I contributed to that. And, you know, when he got his publishing deal and stuff like that, I invited him to speak to my students and stuff like that. But before that, he was coming here. He was coming to this building over here to visit me, and I set him up to be a vocalist for this the former drummer for My Chemical Romance. They were looking for a lead singer. I was like, hey, I know this guy who's a singer, and he was doing that during the time before he got his deal, you know. And but he's one of those guys that I always brag about, like, hey, you know, this is one of my students, and I have a lot of them out there. I call them disciples.
Yeah.
You know
what's crazy? Like, his production is off the hook. But his voice is amazing. Like, he'll send me, like, yo, fam, listen to this. Tell me what you think about it. I'm like, yo, but this is only an instrumental. Like, where's your vocals? He's like, nah, I'm not trying to do that now. I'm just trying to do beats and shit. And I'm like, yo, but you have an amazing voice, man. I think he's like, is original. Like, it's nobody has that voice around the area. And I think he should take advantage of that, because it's something that he will outshine automatically.
He's been doing songs. Last time I saw him, he let me hear a couple records. You know, I don't know what his focus is right now as far as like what his goals are. But you know, I think he's like in his space, and I think he feels like he's his own man now, and he wants to kind of do it on his own terms. And so you gotta like, you know, kind of give him space.
Yeah.
You know, if he needs advice from me, he can call me and talk to me. I don't have a problem with that. But he's, you know, he got to find his way. Ultimately, you know how it is. Somebody can tell you, hey, Famine, do this, do that. And everybody has a whole bunch of suggestions for you. But ultimately, you got to go through the experience of doing it yourself. So I feel like he's in that space right now. And like I said, he's talented. So you can't sleep on that from that perspective. That's another guy that, you know, and I had this other young kid in the neighborhood. I don't know if you know Cisco.
Cisco, yeah, I know
That's
Cisco.
another one. That's another one of
Very
my
big in R&B and hip hop beats is dope. He knows
another
how to
one
play
of
the
my-
keys.
That's another one of my disciples.
Dimitri.
Dimitri, I had Dimitri in high school. He
Okay.
was friends with your nephew.
Yeah, killer.
They play basketball. Dimitri was one of those kids who, when he came in high school, he was with his crew, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys, you know, you're there and you're in the program, and they look at you, and they don't know your experience. They don't know, you know, they don't know who I know, blah blah. So some kids would not listen. You know, they look at me and they're like, "What is he talking about?" And Dimitri, he was very resistant at first, and I used to just drop him a little information, you know, not force it on him. This is what, you know, do this advice. And he was one of the guys that his last year, he kind of connected with me on that level and took a lot of the information that I gave him. And I remember we were working on a song in the class, and these, you know, the kids are shy in high school. They're not like when we were young, like, let me get on the mic, you know. So we did it. We were doing a song that we were like, as a group working together. Cisco was in that class, believe it or not.
Dope.
And I was like, man, to get these guys motivated, I'm gonna rap on it.
Nice.
So I wrote like a little verse, you know, for the song. And then Dimitri, I was like, Dimitri, you get on it and you rap. And he did like a little rap and stuff like that on it. And I think that kind of built his confidence. Then they performed it outside. I had another kid perform my verse because, you know, nobody wants to see a grown man rapping with kids. And so that kind of built his confidence. 'Cause now I see him, he's like singing. He was here a couple months ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I saw the picture, and I'm like, I chill with him. I chill with his older brothers. Like, I know his family. And, and just seeing the picture, he's like, yo, I came to visit my teacher. And I'm like, but that's my people. You know what I mean? Like, so it's very dope to see that. And I'm very happy that, like, I really wish kids could join more of the school, you know, especially if you really want to do music. Like, it's very important. Like
I didn't have that. That's what I was
exactly. We
saying.
didn't have that. We didn't have that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And everything was crazy, you know. And like I said, it goes right back to the beginning of the episode when I talk about quality. You know what I'm saying? And people have the advantage to have these people now that could teach them about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The whole music programs in schools in the future. I'm telling you right now, this is like fact. In the next couple of years, next 5 to 10 years, you're gonna see nothing but studio labs in every music school because technology is going into that direction. There's no way that young kids coming out of college now that went to school of music are not gonna be using Pro Tools, Logic, and they're gonna be teaching that in regular schools. And people are gonna learn how to make music. It's gonna be like something regular.
That's definitely dope, man.
Yeah, man.
Before we end the podcast, man, I definitely want to tell you, there's something that I seen about you. It happened, I would say a couple of years ago that I commend you and it's something very big that you did. That you give, I think, a kidney to one of your family members.
Yes, my little brother. Yes.
I mean, I'm not gonna tell you to go fully details because I don't know how personal is it, but you know, you came out in the newspaper and it was very big and you see that in movies, you see that in television, but when you know somebody that actually went through the situation, I feel like that's very big, and I commend you on that. And I just want to ask you, like I said, you don't have to give full details, but how was the procedure? Like, what made you think, like, yo, this has got to happen?
You know what's crazy about that? You know, so you know how you look at your nephew?
Yeah,
it's like you see him since a baby and you raised him. So my little brother's probably around the same age as them. He's 23 now, but he was in high school with them up over there.
Which, by the way, he looks amazing. I've seen the pictures, and you would never thought he went through that process. You were just like, it's crazy.
This dude's huge. So what happens is, when he's 17 years old, man, he comes home one day, and he's like, he was doing judo up there in North Bergen. So he comes home, and he's like, he's sick. He has a fever. And my sister calls me, man, and she's like, yo, this guy's eyes are going in different directions. His eyeballs are going in different directions. I'm like, you need to take him to the hospital now. Like, something's wrong with this guy. So he's in ICU. Nobody knows what's happening. I'm like, you don't think a 17-year-old is going to go there, especially if it never happened in your family.
Yeah.
So it turned out that they did a biopsy, had to get like emergency dialysis, and it turns out that both of his kidneys were shot. He's been walking around with kidney disease for the last 2 years, and they know about
Nobody knew about it.
Nobody knew about it. So, so they're like, he's gonna need a transplant. You know, that's the only way. So, so what happened was, you know, I saw him, man, and when they told him this information, I was there when the doctor came and delivered the message.
Yeah.
Through his face, you know what I'm saying? And to console him, I kind of told him, like, don't worry about it. I'm gonna take care of it. You know, like,
But before that, you need to know about like blood.
I didn't know anything.
That's what I'm saying. So you just jump out the gun right away and just said.
And I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. A lot of my family members were upset at me. They're like, "What are you doing?" And but anyway, I was like, "Look, man, it's gonna be." I'm trying to console him. You know, it's gonna be okay. I kind of raised this case like my son. You know.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so I went through the process. It was a long process for me. It took me about, I want to say, 8-month process for me to get tested, doing this weird different test to see if I was healthy and stuff like that. And finally, so you figure this happened in December when he got sick, 2010, and we had the transplant. I donated in August. So
it was a long process.
8 months later, so I had to go, you know, make sure. You got to go see a therapist, see a psychologist to make sure. And then I went through and then there was risks. A lot of risks was like he might reject the kidney. His body might not want it, and you just did it for nothing.
Oh wow!
So you have all these risks. You got people telling you on both sides, you know, don't do it. Family members like, yo, don't do it, you know, like, and stuff like that. But I felt like, you know, like somebody needed to step up for him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I kind of did that, and you know. Thank God everything worked out.
Yeah.
And immediately he accepted the kidney and it started working. It's been, we just passed 5 years. We just passed it's been 5.5 years since we did the donation, and he looks amazing. And, you know, it was tough because I never had surgery.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I kind of looked at life different. Once I went through the surgery, man, and I learned who's real. You know, a lot of people who, you know, that went to see me, the calls that I received from people, like the support that I got from the love that I got. There was people who I was really close with who didn't show any support, and I kind of figured out that those people don't need really to be in my life, you know, because something could happen to me. I had to sign waivers, man. I had to sign waivers if you pass away, you know. And so I learned a lot about people and just family, how important family is, and stuff like that. And it was a long process, but thank God everything worked out, and that's something that I always say, I can't do it again.
Yeah. It's crazy because I seen, I mean, it's way different, but it's almost the same process as John Q, the movie.
Yes.
With Denzel Washington.
Yes.
I mean, with his situation was all heart, right?
Yes,
and you just see like when he's him acting the role, and you see the emotion, like that he even stopped, you know, hijacked the whole hospital because he wanted to get done. You know what I mean? That's like I say, these are things you see in movies, and you're actually the first person I know that went through the. You know
what's crazy? I met at least 2 people that did it, and during that time period, because I had nobody to talk to about it, and you know, I met somebody that did it. It's like, hey man, I did it for my fiance. You know, this guy that donated this. He's a DJ. Peace to Spacecraft. Word. And he told me, yeah, man, I did it, man. This is what you need to do. And so I met people like that were supportive. And then you know, other people are just don't want to do it. There was a lot of people, I'm not going to call them out, but on my brother's father's side of the family who just they didn't step up.
Yeah.
And you know, these are grown men. They didn't step up for whatever reason. And I wanted to be there for him. You know, and hopefully, you know, he does great. He does the right thing with his life, and he does, you know, he's doing great. But that was one of the reasons. I didn't think twice about it. It was just like, I was like, man, this kid is like, you know, if I was a senior in high school, I wouldn't want to be going through that.
Of course not.
You know, so that was one of the reasons that I did it. And I did a big barbecue. That's why I was in the newspaper. I did a barbecue before I had the surgery, like the week before, because you never know. You know, that was one of the risks. Like, and believe it or not, a month later, somebody died from the same procedure, a donor. This lady that was donated here in New Jersey, she passed away from the same procedure. She didn't make it.
But can't you live with one kidney?
You can, but what happens is they don't know how you're going to react during surgery, especially if you never had surgery. Somebody, we're going to take out an organ out of your body. You don't know. You could have a heart attack.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen during the process. So that was one of the big risks.
Okay.
And doing that, like, you're taking a gamble. And then on top of that, they may take this organ out and he doesn't accept the organ.
So it's like,
they can't put it back in you. And so it's like all these risks. So you got to go through the process and you got to sign waivers. You got to talk to therapists that are like, you don't have to do this. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And once you go through the process, then they figure out that you're 100% healthy. Then you go through it. For me, it sucked. For me, I was in pain. I was probably being a baby, but I was like, I was just like...
The aftermath is
I felt like I was in the same for about 6 months. I took some time off work and stuff like that. I would come to the studio and just sit down and I got to give a lot of respect to my wife because I had a baby a month prior to my son who's 5. A month prior to having the surgery, and she had to deal with all this stuff, like.
So she has to take care of the kid and you.
She was stressed out. She was stressed out, and so I got to give her a lot of respect for supporting me and stuff like that. But yeah, man,
we're here.
We're here, and that's what I was like, man. I need to do my thing, and I can't worry about, like all this. Going half-assed when you're trying to do something because you never know. You have an opportunity to do something. You got to just. Work as hard as you can to do it.
Definitely, man. And we've been here chopping it up, and I appreciate your moment, your time for.
Well, I appreciate you, man.
But definitely, I mean, before we stop this, if you want to say anything on how people could, again, register to your school.
That's
and
right,
can
man.
Catch you and everything.
You guys can catch me on Instagram, Itec Audio Studios, ITEC Audio Studios. You can also go to my website, www.itecaudio.com. That's ITECaudio.com. And you can catch me on Facebook, facebook.com/ITecAudio1. Okay? Check me out, send me some messages, all right? And just tune into my channel. We're sending a lot of positive information out there, all positive vibes, and support my brother Famine over here. He's been putting in work for a long time.
Word, man.
Respect your elders, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate your help. The Tony Central Podcast, and we out, man.
Peace.
Don't forget to subscribe to get all the new episodes first. Thank you. See you next time on the Tony Central Podcast.